Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. We're episode number 19 on Eat, Learn, and Grow with Tinhorn. I'm April Tinhorn. I'm Malapai Navajo in Chinese. I own Tinhorn Consulting, and I'm so grateful. It could be like a drinking game, right? Every time you hear grateful, you gotta take a shot. I'm not just kidding. Probably too early for that on a Friday, except maybe for you, Mellor, you're on East Coast time, so it's happy hour somewhere. But I wanted to just welcome everyone again. And as we're waiting for more folks to come, I have a couple of just quick little questions for you all. So help me solve this age-old question. Pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie? Go ahead and put your answers in the chat. And if the chat, if you look at the very bottom of your screen and you go kind of like from the far left, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the fifth icon on mine, and it says chat. Yep, I'm with you, Bobby. Pumpkin pie, my grandma's pumpkin pie, homemade. Can just smell that pumpkin filling and the cinnamon and all of that goodness baking. That's some good stuff. Okay, pecan. All right, pecan pie. We got a third contender in the race brought to us by Mellor. You betcha. We got 2 pumpkin pie all the way, and that could be another question. Is it whipped cream or is it ice cream that goes with that pumpkin pie, right? Hey, and then there's our wellness expert Kina. Sweet potato is probably lower in carbs, right? Are we thinking about carbs on the holiday? Okay. Ooh, what pie do you have there, Madison?
Pumpkin pie.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I know. I have whipped cream. I haven't dug into it. I'm saving it after this. It's my little celebration to me.
Hey, all right. Well, you have to throw up a slice for all of us, eh? I don't know, Kina. You'll have to look up the carb count, but I would think sweet potato would probably be the best option out of all of them. Although I was seeing, I saw, what is it called, like carb or keto kitchen out in Chandler, and I looked at their Instagram website. I think they use like the monk fruit for sweeteners. I think they're like they use almond flour, and they had this pumpkin cheesecake. And I was like, you're speaking my love language there. Pumpkin cheesecake that was, it had no crust, but it just looks so decadent. And what I like about on their Instagram, all their sweet baked treats, and I think you have to pre-order, and they only do pickups on certain days. But all their sweet treats, they list the nutritional label. So you get to see like all the carb count, calories, sodium, whatever else you're looking for. And I thought that was cool. I may make a trip out to Chandler just to get me a treat out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we have another quick question would be, what since November is Native American Heritage Month, what is your tribal affiliation, or I guess our allies? You could just put, I'm an ally, or you could put your lineage in there too, because we're all indigenous from somewhere, right? So if you want to drop that in chat, where what nation or tribal affiliation you come from or origin, love to see what everyone is. No worries, Pacer. Yeah, Pacer, we were asking about pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie, and Mellor just threw in a third contender, and he talked about pecan. Okay, sweet. We got folks from all over. We got Navajo, hey Larry. We got Choctaw, Mighty Choctaw Nation, Marty, and hey Kina, you're by affiliation Apache, her fiance. And we got some more Navajo, Madison Navajo, Mellor, Bobby Navajo. And like I said, I'm Wallapai and Navajo and Chinese. So cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started with today's sliding into the holidays with gratitude. This topic was close to my heart because we've been having discussions, I'm sure, like you are with your family. It's like, what are we doing for Thanksgiving? What are we going to do for Christmas? And we're still in pandemic, and so we've had these different conversations about what we're going to do, and it's I think what I think is that it's very important at this time for us to harness the power of our mind, because our thoughts affect our attitude, it affects our behavior, and it's all integrated into our well-being. So, we've had a lot of talks about how things just aren't going to be the same. We've been living of not the same, going on 9 months now. And I've had conversations with loved ones, and conversations with myself too, about not having the best attitude. And then I see that comes out in how I interact with all my relationships. I'm a mother, I own a business, I volunteer in a lot of different capacities, and I show up with my thoughts and my attitudes wherever I go. And I can either add to all those conversations and all those relationships, or I can deplete. And I'm making conscious choices to add. And I believe that really starts with gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. So you have right here, you see my why. This is my why. This is the present and the future of Tinhorn. That's my daughter, Zoe Bear Bender. And I think the easiest and not easiest, I'll say the most impactful way that we can make a difference is by how we treat how we treat those who are living in our homes with us, and how we show up and how we interact with them, and that permeates all our relationships. So that was to set the idea of this month's theme, which really was gratitude. And I wanted to have a conversation, invite some people, and we're going to do things a little bit different today. I did want to talk really quick about some benefits of having an attitude of gratitude. Like if you're having any trouble sleeping at night, there's been scientific proof that if you have a gratitude journal, or even just a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, and you spend 15 minutes before you go to sleep and you start writing about your gratitude, there's been scientific studies that say that will help us sleep better. And there's a couple more tips I may sprinkle throughout here, but I want to keep things moving. With that being said, I would like to ask you if you can take a moment. We'll take like a minute or so, and if you can get a writing instrument and put down 3 things that you are grateful for today. And quick, no editing. Those 3 things that first came to mind, please write those down. Okay, if we can wrap up that last item of gratitude, that would be fantastic. So we're going to now move into our first presenter today. And Lisa, can you bring up? Yep, thank you. We're going to have two speakers today, and we're also going to have some breakout time where we're going to have some time to interact and talk about these different ideas and actions into gratitude. So to kick off our conversation, we have Madison Fulton, and she comes from the Intertribal Council of Arizona. She's Navajo, and we're going to hear some ways we can gain strategies from her for promoting health and wellness into our Indigenous communities through a lens of connectedness and gratitude. I'll let her introduce herself. But I wanted to definitely point out, I thought this was a cool thing. Her master's thesis was titled Ending Sexual Violence Against American Indian Women, a Dene woman's perspective on renewing concepts of justice on tribal lands. So I remember Madison was the first person who ever talked to me about like historical trauma. And it's kind of interesting, yin yang, because I've experienced her as a very positive, loving, upbeat person. And the work she does to me is at the other end of the spectrum. Like it's, it's very, it's trauma, it's traumatizing. It's things that are going on in our community that take a lot of emotional intelligence, I believe, to be able to handle in a healthy way. So Madison, I'd like to welcome you to Eat, Learn, and Grow with Tinhorn, and we totally look forward to hearing your story of gratitude.
Awesome. Thank you, April. Thank you for that lovely introduction. It is tough, the work that I do. I'm pretty sure everybody else can relate, but I'm also really grateful, and that's what I wanted to share with you today, about my gratitude. Let's see, slideshow. Most of this stuff is going to be pictures. So when I was trying to come up for, I guess, the title, this is the best that I could come up with, is adapting my perspective of gratitude during COVID-19. And that's pretty much what it's been, is adapting to the changes, adapting to teleworking, adapting to just the different challenges and barriers, but also adapting my perspective of gratitude. We can always think of like the Debbie Downer stuff. So I had to kind of change that. This is where I'm from. As April had mentioned, I am Navajo. I'm from a small community known as Rough Rock up in the mountain areas. And this is a picture taken of the mountain on my grandma's land. This is our family cabin. This is where our livestock is, our corral. You can't really see it right now, but when I get discouraged, or when I feel discouraged, I just think of home, and I think of all the hardships, such as like hauling wood and hauling water. They look like hardships, but I also remember having some of my best childhood memories doing those things. So again, just all about changing your perspective. You could look at it as a burden, but you could also look at it as, those are some fun times I had as a child. So I was racking my brains trying to come up with like, oh, what am I going to talk about gratitude, and how am I going to, there's so many ways you could talk about gratitude. And so finally I just kind of had to resort to one of the things that I love doing, and that's listening to podcasts. I like listening to all kinds of different podcasts. My favorite podcasts are true crime podcasts. I don't, it's so funny what April was saying, like it's like kind of the opposites of the spectrum, like I do really try to be a positive, optimistic person, but I also, one of my indulgences is true crime. I don't know. But one of the podcasts that I like to listen to is called The Gratitude Diaries. And I shared the link with Lisa, so hopefully she'll be able to share that with you later on today. But the episode that I want to talk about that kind of struck to me was Be Happier at Work. And in this podcast episode, they were talking about saying thank you in the workplace. And there were some studies conducted that there's not a lot of people in the workplace that say thank you to their colleagues, and they're less likely to say thank you to their bosses, and vice versa. Their bosses are less likely to say thank you to their employees. And that showed that, as individuals, one of the main reasons that we find like to work hard is to feel appreciated in the workplace. Um, and there was three key elements that they looked at to why we give our best effort at work. One is that the project or whatever it is that we're doing, it's interesting. It gets us excited about, what we do at work. Another one is that we find like it's meaningful. It provides us some sort of purpose as to why we're there. And it's to also feel appreciated by others. You feel appreciated as a colleague, as a person, or your work that you put out is appreciated. So it's really important to, I guess, really enjoy what you like, what you do. And for me, my career, I'm really grateful to where I'm at right now, because I've always just wanted to work in Indian country. I did both my undergrad and my graduate degrees, programs in American Indian Studies at ASU. And as April had mentioned, my whole perspective in both undergraduate and graduate was looking at sexual assault on tribal lands. And at first it started off with just women, and then it started off into other areas, like with males, with children, with seniors, with LGBTQ2S individuals. It is a grim topic. It is grim. I had to read through criminal reports, police reports, and the stories, they are very grim. But I found that it was a very much needed topic, and I can do a whole presentation about this. But what I was really looking at was not so much relying on the laws and policies in Indian country, but more looking at cultural concepts of justice to promote healing and wellness for victims. So I've always just had like this drive to work in Indian country. It's always been what I wanted to do most. And thankfully, like my first job, like right out of grad school, like literally 3 days after I defended my thesis, I was working at ITCA, and I got sent out for my first trip to Ely, Nevada. And that was really cool. I'm really thankful. These are some of the team members. Gwenda Gorman, she was my previous director. Vanessa Dodge, Eric Hardy, Glenda Tovar, she's not pictured here. And then our new director is Alita Montiel. But I'm really thankful for our team. I'm really thankful for the work environment over at ITCA. I loved going to work in the office, and I loved seeing all these different faces. It didn't feel like they were just my coworkers. We would joke with each other. We just had like this very close friendship with each other. So I do miss going into the office. It was a lot of fun. But ever since, I believe, March of this year, we've been teleworking. So that's been kind of a challenge. And our team, this is the individuals here, they're from different departments. There's Eric, we're from HHS department. Margot here, she's from the water department. Alex here, he's from native voting. And this is my sister and her girlfriend. And this is my my younger brother as well. And this was my previous director, Gwenda. So as you can kind of see here, there's just that sense of like, wanting to hang out with each other outside of work. And we got to do fun things like this together. But not only that, we got to do fun things with the tribes that we worked for. These are some of the tribes that we worked for: Gila River, Ute Indian tribe, Gila River, Eric and I, and then Ute Indian tribe. So through the project that I work on, I forgot to mention. So the projects that I work on at ITCA, one is from the CDC. It focuses on chronic disease prevention. And another one is from the Department of Justice, Office of Violence Against Women. That one's looking at victim services for sexual assault. And And then the other one that I'm recently got onto is from the Arizona Attorney General's office. That one is looking at human trafficking in Indian country. So like I said, I've always wanted to work for the Indian country, and I'm very thankful that I am where I'm at. So more pictures of escape rooms that we've done, and this is all outside of work. This is not part of work. This was just us, going the extra mile and wanting to spend time with the people that we work for. To show them that we appreciate their time and we appreciate the work that they're doing, because you can't always just focus on the work. You get burnt out. You have to throw in some fun stuff every now and then. But one of the things I always tell people is that when you work in Indian country, you have to have a thick skin. This is a picture, and I always think about Wallapai, because there was this one elderly lady. I was checking out of the hotel, and she was not shy. She just came up to me and she was like, "You're not from here. Who do you work for? And what are you doing here?" And maybe if it was somebody else, they would have gone off on the deep rails and got offended. But I just calmly explained to her the project I was on, who I worked for, what my business was there. And slowly her guard came down. And afterwards, we kind of shared a laugh, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just being nosy." And I was like, no, I was like, you should ask people why they're in your community. That's how things get stolen from you. That's how data gets stolen from you. That's how, we have this thing called cultural appropriation. I was like, no, so it's good. I was like, I'm glad you stopped to ask me what my business was. And even though I was late for a meeting, I still took the time to talk to that lady. But I always tell people, you have to have a thick skin if you're going to work in Indian country. But I love it. I really would not want to be anywhere else, working for anybody else. So I'm really thankful. But these are some of the pictures just throughout my time at ITCN, working for the different tribes, different conferences that I've been to. This is my coworker and I. We went running with this elderly lady over in the Hopi tribe, and she's an awesome runner. I was struggling to keep up with her. And these are other pictures of work that I've done, travels that I've been to, opportunities that have come my way. I've just been all over Indian country, and it kind of spills over into my personal life. Like, this is one of the site coordinators. I took a Zumba class with her and her son on my day off. They invited me out, so I went out. Getting invited to community events, getting asked to organize other events outside of work, being asked to volunteer my time for different things involving the youth, just conferences. So as I'm kind of going through these pictures, you can kind of see, like, I really enjoy the in-person connections, interpersonal relationships. So having to adapt to teleworking and doing Zoom and not having in-person meetings, it's been kind of hard. There was a time there where I was really questioning, like, am I really making a meaningful impact in the work that I do? And I was actually looking to at a different job for policy development. I was just like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel appreciated. And I don't know if my work is having that meaningful impact that it once had. But I had to change that perspective. And it happened with over a 2-hour phone call with one of the new site coordinators. She was very confused about the project, and she was starting to feel discouraged, and she was thinking about, just resigning because she couldn't get caught up with the grant thus far. And I just sat with her for 2 hours on the phone, just, walking her through the project. And at the end of the project, she was like, "Oh, thank you. I feel so much better. You've been a lot of help." And it was like an epiphany, like a eureka moment. And I was like, even though I'm not having these face-to-face, in-person discussions, I can still make an impact, because really it's about the work. It's not about the traveling. It's not about going to these, you know, those are just kind of bonuses on top of what I do. But the real purpose behind what I do, it's to help tribes. So I've kind of had to change my perspective, and all these in-person meetings, we've had to change it to virtual. This is one of the recent trainings that we did with April. And I really want to close out this discussion for myself and my perspective is gratitude helps us to see what is there instead of what isn't. So I was so focused on the past. I was so focused on in-person meetings and traveling and doing in-person things that I kind of lost sight of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, you know, helping Indian country, helping tribal communities to be healthier, to have better livelihoods than what they currently are now. And since I work at an organization that really focuses on resources and technical assistance, doing my best to provide that to provide that for professionals in Indian country. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that. I know I kind of went quickly, but that's just a little something about myself and working at ITCA and my experiences. So I would like to thank all of you for your time and attention this morning. And I look forward to seeing you in the breakout session.
Thank you, Madison. So we're doing things a little bit different this time. We're going to have we're going to have a breakout session after each presenter. So I will automatically, like through the power and magic of Zoom, send you all to one of two breakout rooms, which will have Mellor and Lisa in one room. And then the other one will have Madison and Lisa in one room, and then Mellor and myself in the other. And the purpose would be for us to have smaller group conversations. And Madison, will you share what the topic is going to be on?
Oh, yes. So I was thinking about how is it that you can show gratitude for your coworker and your boss during this time of COVID? I know most of us are teleworking, so, you know, how could you go about doing that from a distance?
Thank you. So again, how can we show gratitude towards our coworkers and bosses while we're in telecommuting or not in person? And I will send you all to your groups, and then when the time's up, you'll see a sign. Just click on the prompts you see, and we'll all come back, and then we'll start with our next presenter. So enjoy your conversations. I'm about to open up the rooms. And if you can please join those rooms, that would be fantastic.
I don't have a window front home out to the city, but
It's beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. So Mellor, did you already bring the question up? How we can show gratitude?
No, I didn't bring that up. So my name is Mellor Willie. I am Navajo, born and raised on out in Window Rock, Arizona. My clan is Tachitni Tsenahabishni Bashishchin Ashi Edashichekia Ani Edashinella. I live in Washington, D.C., so I live and work out of Washington, D.C., and I have a firm called Chi Consulting, and we do public affairs consulting for tribes throughout the United States, and mostly my consulting work has been based out of Navajo, so I have a lot of Navajo clients. But for this session, I wanted to ask, one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, I've been having to deal with this a lot, especially with a lot of family members, coworkers, friends going through, dealing with the hardships of the pandemic. Not only the loss of life, but the loss of resources. Some people have lost jobs and things. So my question is, how can you show up for others and helping them to find gratitude at this time in their life. So by showing up, it's like, how do we come forward, either whether we are seeing them doing a social distancing kind of an event where we can talk with them outside with cover masks, or if we give them a phone call, texting them, finding them on social media networks just to check in to see how they're doing, those type of things. How do we show up? And then when we have those conversations, if they're in, we have these folks that get into to the hard times and they're dealing with these hard situations, how do we help them to find these areas of gratitude? For me, it's been, and I'll offer a couple maybe just to start off the conversation, but for me, it's been thinking about the things that I've been thankful for. So sharing my own personal testimony of gratitude. I think of that time, well, this last year I've gone through a lot because my father passed away in June and had to go attend a funeral during the pandemic. But what I was thankful for is after the funeral, I had to stay in Phoenix just to decontaminate, right? Because we had a funeral that was outdoors. We were all masked and things, but I still had to decontaminate before I came to DC because I live with my mother-in-law and she's older. She's a vulnerable population for getting sick. And my partner also had bouts with pneumonia in the past, just recently as December. So I wanted to make sure that I was coming back into my household, decontaminated and feeling okay with myself. So I spent a week down in Phoenix, and I was very thankful because I found this really great Airbnb property. And it was right at the edge of Phoenix. It had a beautiful farm. They had horses, those little miniature horses. They had chickens running around. They had all little dogs. It had a pool outside. And after going through my father's funeral, I had a chance to decompress, to really think and to have some time to myself. I ordered in some food and made some food there at the house and got some groceries and things. But it was good to be by myself, to reconnect with myself and to get my feelings in order before I was coming back with my family. Because sometimes those feelings can also extend into your family. And so I was very thankful that I had that time to really reconnect and to have some time to myself to think about things before I came back. And I was thankful that I was able to come back in a healthy and safe way for my family. But that was kind of the gratitude. Sometimes I share that story or I share other stories. You can share stories about memories you have with these folks that maybe having some hardships and returning their mood back to those positive times so that they remember the positive times. And then ending that, this pandemic is going to be over at some time and that there will be things that we can do to contribute to the within work or within your life. So that's kind of things I wanted to offer that question up to you and ask you to share some ways that you can show up for others and helping them to find gratitude during this difficult time. Kina?
Yeah, so it's Kina. I'd like to share that one of the big things that I've done is scrolling Facebook. So if I have a friend of mine that's in need, the biggest, most immediate thing that I can do is be a resource. I have a friend of mine who was about to be evicted due to a bad roommate situation. So I connected her with a lady that she can fill an intake form out and hopefully get some help. So that's like a more immediate thing, scrolling Facebook for opportunities like that to connect. Yes, texting is great, checking in, things like that. Things like, people having, deaths in their family and things like that. Something that I've found that isn't immediate, but sending cards. I have a software system that I use that when funds are tight, it's a really great way to reach out to people just to check in. It's not an immediate, but at least it's another layer. So.
That's great. Other folks, do you want to share as well?
I can do mine before. Looks like we have a minute. I was kind of in the same situation where in March my mom had passed away, and that was the beginning of the pandemic. And then I'm part of that group right now where it's like I was furloughed, and then I was laid off, and then I was brought back, and then I was laid off again. So it's like, what the heck? But my main thing would probably be like doing something small, starting small and starting on yourself. And I like that you said testimonials, because a lot of people think that they're the only ones that are in this. And I just try to do like a grateful thing, like, hey, did you get up this morning? That's good. Did you fix your hair? Okay, that's good. That's something small, and you should be proud of that, because it is really hard at this time.
Yeah, exactly. We're leaving on into the next room. Anybody else want to share before we leave?
Oh, there's okay, everyone's coming. I was like, are we the only ones here?
Oop, I'm here. I got kicked out of my room.
The magic has a mind of its own sometimes. And like everything else, we gotta adjust and pivot. So I believe breakout room number 1 is returning.
I didn't look at it when I first came on, but I got kicked out. It did the timer, and then we dispersed.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you stayed with us. It's like the Wizard of Oz. We all got in the house, and hopefully we all end up back in Kansas. I might still be in Oz. All right. I think we are almost all back. Hope we didn't lose our next. Okay, there you are, Mellor. Like, we can't have lost Mellor. Hey. So next, without further ado, we'll go ahead and transition over to Mellor Willie, and I'll let him introduce himself. And you have like roughly 10. Guess I'll just roughly like 10 minutes, and then we'll go into another breakout, and then I'll bring us all back to wrap up. So go for it, Mellor. You have the virtual Zoom floor.
Great, thanks guys. My name is Mellor Willie. I am Navajo, was born and raised in the Windrock area. My clan is Tachitni, Sanahabitli Bashishtin, Ashi Eda Shachek, Ane Eda Shinella, Sagahot Sunday Nasha. I currently live in, let me start this PowerPoint for you. I currently live in Washington, D.C. I do public and government affairs, political affairs work. I have my own firm, Chi Consulting. And yeah, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was our footsteps are sacred, sliding into the holidays with gratitude. I've kind of taken this idea of our footsteps being sacred because everywhere we step and every time we move into life, we're taking another footstep into our next day, into our next month, into our next year. And we really think about it is the footsteps that we take are very sacred because what comes behind us is our children. What comes behind us is those people who are going to be following us. And so every good footstep that we take, we know that somebody's going to follow us. And as we slide into the holidays with gratitude, I wanted to think about, use those things about moving into the holidays with good thoughts and good minds. I had a unique opportunity to spend a year as a Rockwood Fellow through the Rockwood Leadership Institute. One of the things that they started off doing during our training was to do a mantra. And it was really weird to me because it was hard for me to think that a mantra would give me this personal power. But I had to think of things that were where I needed some strength, where I saw myself. And I am forceful, and when you get with me and things and friendships and things, April will tell you that I'm really outburst. I have a lot of, I'm pretty loud and things, but I tend to be very stay backwards and stay back a lot. So I had created this mantra with some areas that I thought that would extend certain parts of my personality that I needed to enhance. So my mantra is, we are strong, we are courageous, our footsteps are sacred, because we are the warriors. When I think of footsteps are sacred, again, it goes back to those beliefs that we make these steps into our life. This past year, my father passed away, and he's the one there with the Obama hat. He passed away in June. But before he left, he started taking out this picture at every family gathering that we had. And this is a picture of my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, Chi Willie. And Chi Willie went on the long walk. And the 1860s, Navajo people were gathered up and taken on a long walk, and they left the Navajo, what is current areas between the four sacred mountains, and taken to a place called Huelde, which is Bosque Redondo. And Chi Willie, when he went on the long walk, he was so little that he had to be carried on the shoulders of his father across the three great big rivers. And he remembers that. And they went through to this place called Huelde, where they stayed in encampment. And in this encampment, they, it was a lot of atrocities were had. They didn't have a lot of water and a lot of food and things, and they were left basically in a concentration camp like area. And there was a lot of Navajo people that passed away, and a lot of times we don't talk about that place. But telling the stories is a story that I do during this time of Thanksgiving and time of the holidays, because it makes me remember what I'm grateful for. Chi Willie, he came back, and as the Treaty of 1868 was negotiated, the Navajo people were let go and able to come back. But Chi Willie at that time was large enough that he could pass along these three rivers on his own, and he no longer had to be carried. So that can tell you and show you the amount of time that he spent growing up and being raised in this concentration camp area. Chi Willie came back, and he didn't actually make it home. When he got to Fort Wingate, they separated the children from their families, and Chi Willie would spend the rest of his life living in a boarding school. Later on in life, he finally came home. He learned how to speak 6 different languages, and he became a communicator for government services and things for the Navajo people. And so in this way, that's the reason why I named my firm Chi Consulting. It's because we here in Washington, D.C., we try to communicate messages on behalf of the people to the federal government so that we can ensure those treaty rights and trust responsibilities are ensured for our Indian people. And so I tell this story because as we go into the holidays and we think about this colonialized version of Thanksgiving, we think about this Christian way of Christmas, whether you're a Christian or not. I was raised LDS in the Mormon church. But I still also grab onto my own stories and make these holidays special for me and what I am thankful for. So as I go into the holiday of Thanksgiving, I think about Chi Willie and his story. I think about my father being raised by Chi Willie and the things that my father went through. And so I wanted to share this with you as we kind of move, because this is a way in which we decolonialize our stories and we make them our own. This is the way that I do that. This is Chi Willie with that one's my grandma right here, and my grandma's sister. We were thankful to get these pictures through some of the historical society pictures that were taken back in the time. And this is a picture of my mother and father. They were married very young. But what's funny about my mother and father is they have a unique story. They were both in the foster care system. They went in foster families up in Utah. My mother lived in Richfield. My dad lived in Fayette, Utah. And they were the 2 Indian kids that were going to school competitions. And so you can imagine in a big sea of just white kids, they were the 2 little Indian kids from the other schools. My mom was from Richfield High School, Sevier County High School. My dad was from North Sevier area, Gunnison High School. And they saw each other and they met through music competitions. And they started dating through the years. My dad, my mom's foster mom was kind of the behind the scenes person. She used to send care packages when my dad was on an LDS mission, a Mormon mission, and she would sign the care packages with my mom's name. So all this time when my dad was on his LDS mission and his going on his mission, she was the one that was sending. He thought she was sending him care packages, but they were actually coming from my grandma. So as soon as he came back from his mission, he went and started dating my mom, and they got married. But I'm very thankful to have these two parents in my life that have made a significant contributions in my life. And that gives me a lot of gratitude for having this family figures that have been able to shape who I am. One of the things that I'm also thankful for is I've been very thankful for the opportunities that have been given to us and to all of the young professionals here in DC. I wanted to talk to you about Brian Newland and Tara Huska. They were both UDAL interns. They went through the UDAL internship program. It's a unique internship program where they bring 12 Native American individuals, young students who had graduated from college. They came to DC. I worked with these two individuals when I used to be the executive director of the National American Indian Housing Council. Brian Newland worked over at the Interior Department. Tara Huska worked at the Climate for Environmental Quality. And even though we were passage, we didn't know that we were doing this passage of the Hearth Act. Hearth Act is this unique bill that was giving leasing authority back to the Indian tribes. But Brian was working on a piece of it from the Interior. Tara was working on a piece of it from the Center for Environmental Equality. I was pushing the coalition of tribes through the National American Indian Housing Council. But we were able to have this unique impact. And it's because of the forthright and thinking of other people who were able to train young people, young Native people in policymaking in Washington, DC, and were able to come back and make an impact. This is the signage of President Barack Obama, that bill, the Hearth Act, that was signed. Brian's there, chairwoman of the National American Indian Housing Council, Cheryl Cosley's there. But it was a great day for us. I also want to talk about the other Navajos that have come through the UDAL program, because it's made a big difference in the policymaking in DC. I once went to a really contentious meeting with the Housing and Urban Development. And I sat down in this meeting and I was representing my clients, the Navajo Housing Authority. And it was us, and then Clara Pratt at the time used to be the executive director of the National Navajo Nation Washington office. Tanya Johnson was the attorney for the Navajo Nation's Department of Justice. And we all went through the same internship program here in DC. And it was neat to see us all three defending the Navajo Nation against a federal entity, and to sit there with our colleagues that had gone through this unique opportunity. I'm thankful that there was the foresight from our leaders, Indian leaders before, who created this opportunities for internships for young people, because it gave us all an opportunity, give us a boost in our professional lives. And there is major change being made. There's several other internship programs, the Washington Internships for Native Students, the WINS program. It's no longer existing, but at one time they had hundreds of interns that they brought during the summer. There's the Native American Political Leadership Program at George Washington University that's also bringing Native leaders. And this gives us some, if we can make an impact, and these personal stories of impact that are done from the internship program, just imagine all those interns coming along and the work that they're doing and the impact that they're going to make in their life. I had the unique opportunity in 2018 to start a PAC called 7 Gen Leaders. Again, infusing this ideas of where we step our children will follow. 7 Gen Leaders is built upon the idea that leaders today should be making decisions based upon how it will impact the 7 generations to come. And we supported leaders that were national leaders at local, state, and national level. We also created kind of an infrastructure to get more Native American candidates into office. But I had never known how to create a PAC, a super PAC. I worked with Xavier Barraza. He does our reporting and compliance. I do the fundraising and strategy, but it was just us two Indian guys that got together and created this PAC. And we really had a lot of support from other people, other non-union people who gave us some ways to move forward. But we were able to make a difference. We were able to impact the race for Deb Holland in her primary race. We raised up to $215,000 that we invested into Deb Holland. She won the primary on June 5th, 2018. Her primary votes, she won by 9,262 votes. And in the general election, she won with 59,000. And as you know, if you watch the recent reports, she's a contender for the cabinet position for the Secretary of the Interior. This is a little snippet of the ad that we ran on television, but it shows you that if tribes really can put their minds together and put their money together, they can leverage their political power to make a huge difference to elect our people into office. Here's the video.
Who's the only candidate for Congress endorsed by Planned Parenthood, New Mexico's teachers, and other progressives? Deb Holland. Deb has always lived her progressive values as a single mom working through law school and a leader helping Democrats win in New Mexico. Deb Holland will be a bold voice as the first Native American woman ever to serve in Congress, where she'll stand up to Trump to fight for Medicare for all and 100% renewable energy. Deb Holland, living progressive values. 7 Gen Leaders is responsible for the content of this advertising. Who's the only?
After we finished the campaign for Deb Holland, because we needed to get her through the primary, we moved on to looking at other candidates that were running. Sharice Davids started coming up and she won her primary. And in August, we started moving forward to supporting her campaign. We invested $145,000 into that campaign. We're able to leverage our partners and relationships with other super PACs to get some significant TV time to run a video. But if you know Sharice David, she has a unique background. She used to be a former MMA fighter. She's lesbian. She worked in this unique fellowship program within the White House. And she's just an amazingly smart person. This is the ad that we ran to get her into office.
In this corner, Kevin Yoder, the special interest champion. They gave him a $4 million prize. He voted to give them a $1 trillion tax break, while voting to increase health insurance premiums on older Kansans. The challenger, Sharice Davids. She's fought from the octagon to the courtroom and is one of the first Native American women to go to Congress. She'll fight for every Kansan. Sharice Davids is in our corner. 7 Gen Leaders is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So it was cool to work with these, to create this PAC. We started in February of 2018, and we're able to make a significant difference in helping to elect these 2 Native women to office. And I'm grateful for that opportunity because it learned a lot, for one, but also shows you how we can leverage our power if we can, what we can do to make a difference. One of the things that I did when I was 40 is I came to this time in my life where I was really thinking about my leadership and who I was and what I was doing. And I wanted to, one area that I was focused on is I am a two-spirit individual. I married my husband in 2013. And growing up as a two-spirit person on Navajo was very difficult. And a lot of the times it was suppressing some sides of me. And so as I turned 40, I wanted to be more authentic in my leadership and more authentic to myself. One thing that I told myself I was going to do was to learn how to do drag. And so one of the things is I told myself by the time I was 40, I was going to do my drag, and this is who I came out as, is Melanie. And that's my drag mother here. This is Eartha. And that's Earthquake because when she shakes, it quakes. She's cool. She gave me my drag name, and you have to get your drag name from another drag mother. But this is Melanie. And it's funny because when I think about the person that I am and who I was trying to portray as a drag queen, I was trying to get some of that frustration out of myself and who I was on this other side. And so it's funny because my coworkers and say sometimes when I get really kind of a little bit of attitude. They always say, "Hey, watch out, Melanie," to kind of keep me in check. But I think this is the part where we have to really think about ourselves and our leadership, and what we put forward is being truth and authentic to ourselves. And this is a part of who I am. What's in the future? I see a lot of things moving into the future with the young leaders. This is Christy Johnson. She's the person that's from one of my communities. My mom was raised in El Jato, and Christy's from El Jato, a very remote community on the Utah side of Navajo. And she's coming forward as a great leader. And she used to work as my personal assistant. And then she went on to graduate school, got her master's degree, is now working for the Government Accountability Office and doing great work. But I see a lot of hope for folks in Washington, D.C. moving into the future. And lastly, and most importantly, I'm very thankful for my family and these people who have made a difference in my life, and keeping close with them. We went through a lot of hardship this year with the loss of my father. My mother has dementia, and she suffered from a lot of things. I have two sisters that suffer from rheumatoid arthritis and things. And my one sister, Utah, is in a wheelchair. And when I think about them, I think about the limitations on my health and the things that I go through, but I know that they're more limited. And so every day I try to get out a little bit more to at least walk at least a mile. I went on 2 50-mile challenges for 30 days within this last year during the pandemic to remind myself that there's people out there that can't do it. So these are the things that I wanted to share with you, and I'm thankful for this time. I appreciate April for reaching out to have me share some time with you. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you for both panelists for sharing your stories. I feel like I just feasted on some gratitude, and felt like I should have been back at the outside the fire. And when you started sharing about your great grandpa Chi, that's power and strength right there, and a reminder about where we come from and who we come from, especially when we have those moments of fear and doubt. So thank you for reminding us of that, Mellor. I want to ask, who feels so moved right now that you would like to share what you're grateful for, because you're going to take us out of this session. Go ahead and unmute yourself and share.
I'll go ahead and do it. Well, I am so grateful of the reminder of how you have your family and how you really said represent yourself. I think even if you're not a two-spirit person, it's hard. It's a hard life when there is growing up. And for me, it was being a girl because my whole family were boys. So my gratefulness is like, I'm resourceful, I'm native. I'm a kick-ass person. Like, I just always try to find that optimism in it, and finding people like yourselves and April for bringing people like this into my view, it really empowers me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie, for sharing that. I just would like to wrap us up on this Friday by letting you know that our next episode of Eat, Learn, and Grow will be December 11th, and the topic is going to be on traditions. So Mellor kind of warmed us up for that next one. I believe we may have Alita Montiel and Miss Verline, I think, maybe our speakers, but tentative. I need to confirm them right now. But we will be talking traditions in December. And as this episode and all the Eat, Learn, and Grows are provided by Tinhorn, and it's my personal viewpoint that what we put out is what we get back in. And this is what I want to do, is to have more. When I think about our tribal communities, the change occurs just with us, because I used to get really frustrated when I was younger. It's like, okay, how do we make change? How do we make change? And as I'm getting older, I see the only thing I have control over is in here. What's between the ears here is my thoughts. And that's how I'm going to make change as a Wallapai, Navajo, and Chinese woman. It starts with me. So it starts with you. And if you have any, we have our registration link here for our December 11th Eat, Learn, and Grow. And Lisa, can you go back one slide? I'd also like to extend an opportunity at Tinhorn. You know, we've been speaking, we are fluent speakers of tech, and we've been doing it for over 10 years in this company and over 25 years personally as a computer scientist. And we'd like to help you make this transition for your organizations or for your companies. If you need help in making that transition to this online and digital platforms, we'd love to help you with our website, social media, and training services. And even if you need help with just starting a strategy, we're offering 20-minute complimentary mini consultations, and we have the link here. And with that, I will wish you all a fantastic Friday. And again, thank you, Mellor and Madison and Lisa, for being the Oz to the Zoom session. And you all be well and healthy and loving, especially to yourself. And I'll see you December 11th, if not sooner. See you.
Thanks. We'll see
All
you.
right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Doing.
Mhm.
Great to see you all. I'm looking forward to being back